When a head coach steps up to talk after a tough game, you can hear in his voice whether he's actually calm or just trying to cover something up. And after another rough performance from Lamar Jackson, John Harbaugh finally broke the silence. And what he said didn't just catch people off guard. It made everyone stop and wonder what's really happening inside this team. This wasn't a routine press conference answer. It was a kind of statement that completely shifts the tone around your quarterback. And the timing makes everything even heavier. The offense is stuck, the criticism is building, and there isn't much room for mistakes right now. So when Harbaugh went out his way to defend Lamar, especially the specific point he chose to highlight, it raised a question that could shape the entire season. Once you understand what sits behind those words, it becomes pretty obvious that the situation is a lot more serious than it looks. Harbaugh made it crystal clear that he still believes in Lamar Jackson. Even after a sluggish outing, he spoke with confidence, like someone who truly trusts his quarterback. No hesitation, no cold coach speak. It was a kind of firm support that tells you he's standing shoulder to shoulder with Lamar. He knows the numbers haven't popped. 3 straight games without hitting 200 passing yards isn't something you can just ignore. But even with that, Harbaugh emphasized Lamar's effort. The way he fights through every snap, even when the offense can't find a rhythm. That's the part the coach wanted to shine a light on. The way Harbaugh talks makes it clear he's looking beyond the scoreboard or the stat sheet. He sees the effort, the leadership, the guy who keeps trying to pull the offense forward despite the struggles. And when a coach reinforces it publicly, he's sending a message that the belief inside the locker room hasn't changed. But that confidence also brings up a real question. If Harbaugh is seeing all of this so clearly, why hasn't the passing game taken off? That's exactly the doubt that hits when you look at the string of low-yardage games. It opens the door to understanding how concerning this dip in passing production really is. Lamar's recent stretch stands out because it's completely out of character for him. 3 straight games under 200 passing yards isn't something anyone expects from a quarterback who's run this offense for years. It's not a normal slump, and the fact that it's turning into a pattern creates that feeling that something inside the scheme still isn't clicking. It's not a talent issue. Lamar has always had that. This feels more like rhythm, confidence in the deeper throws, and reads that used to come almost automatically. And every week this number repeats. It becomes clearer that the offense is still trying to figure out who they are in this stage of the season, and that makes everything tighter. The strange part is that even with this low production, the Ravens keep finding ways to win. That's what makes the situation feel even more awkward. The team is winning, but nobody feels like the offense is actually comfortable or threatening through the air. It's that sense of, yeah, they're pulling out wins, but something's missing. And that something becomes even more obvious when Harbaugh tries to explain why the offense hasn't looked pretty, yet still manages to get the job done, which leads directly into the weight of what he said about Lamar's current style of play and how that's being viewed internally. When Harbaugh says Lamar is playing winning football, he's pointing to something pretty specific. He knows the plays aren't unfolding the way everyone imagines, but he insists Lamar is doing enough to keep the team on the right track. It's almost like he's reminding everyone that not every win needs to look explosive to be effective. That comment also shows Harbaugh understands exactly how this offense is winning games right now, with control, with patience, and with timely plays that show up when they matter most. It's not the high-flying style we've seen before, but it's enough to keep the team steady while other units carry the load. And when he says the big games are still coming, he's leaving a hint that the team believes there's more ahead, that this current version of the offense isn't the final product. It's a message that keeps the locker room confident, even while the pressure outside keeps climbing. Still, this idea of winning without style becomes even more obvious when you look closely at how much the offense struggled against a defense full of holes, which only highlights how big the issue really is.
All right, we're already past the halfway point of this video, but before we continue, I noticed you haven't left a like yet. It's really important because it helps YouTube keep showing you my content so I can keep bringing you the best news about the Baltimore Ravens. So go ahead and hit that like button. It's free and it really helps. Thanks. Now let's get back to it.
What surprised a lot of people was watching the Ravens score just 3 points in their first 4 drives against a defense missing major pieces. With no Quinnen Williams and no Sauce Gardner, the Jets should have been a much easier matchup through the air. But even then, Baltimore's offense came out slow, stuck, stiff, unable to stretch the field. It felt like nothing clicked. The routes weren't creating separation at the right moments. The pocket didn't look clean, and Lamar kept getting forced into short, conservative options. That kind of start doesn't match a team with big-time ambitions, and it makes it pretty clear the offense still struggles to bring intensity early in games. Only when Zay Flowers started making key catches did the offense finally breathe. He opened up space, created movement, and took some of the pressure off. And right after that, Derrick Henry did what Derrick Henry does inside the red zone, lowered his shoulders and punched in a touchdown. Even with that, getting to that point showed how hard it still is for this offense to find rhythm. And that struggle feels even heavier when you remember how little time they have to fix things before facing a much tougher opponent, which is exactly what makes the next challenge so crucial. Now, Baltimore enters a short week with a massive Thanksgiving matchup against the Cincinnati Bengals. This is the kind of situation where you can't hide your problems for long. They're rolling with 5 straight wins, but they also know the level of competition is about to spike. The AFC North is wide open, with the Ravens and Steelers tied at the top, which means every detail starts to matter. Any offensive slip can cost division control, playoff positioning, or even momentum heading into the final stretch. And when the opponent is a division rival, the stakes only get bigger. The team knows the run game is working, the defense is holding up, and they're finding different ways to win. But they also know that if they want to chase something bigger, and that includes playoffs and the Super Bowl, their quarterback needs to give them more than what he's shown lately. You can't roll into January relying on flashes and defensive heroics. And that's exactly what turns this Thanksgiving matchup into a potential turning point. Either the offense finally shows real signs of life, or the pressure on Lamar is only going to grow from here. In the end, everything Harbaugh said about Lamar Jackson shows a lot more than a simple public defense. It shows just how much confidence he still places in his quarterback, even with the inconsistency, the growing criticism, and an offense that refuses to take off. The streak of sub-200-yard games, the slow starts even against weakened defenses, and the rise in demand for a more efficient attack all make it clear that Baltimore is standing at a critical moment. And Harbaugh's words sound like a message that the team still believes a turnaround is coming. So now the real question is, do you think all this confidence from Harbaugh is going to pay off once the games get tougher? Because if the offense doesn't react soon, one slip could cost them the division, home field advantages, or even the direction of the entire season. And that's exactly why every moment from here on out carries so much weight. The season is wide open, the clock is running, and Baltimore needs Lamar to respond.
And if you, just like me, are passionate about the world of football and want to learn more about the Ravens' legacy, don't leave this video without sharing it with that friend who is also a Baltimore Ravens fan and will love this content. See those video suggestions on your screen? The first one was handpicked just for you, and the other is a recommendation from YouTube itself.